If you're a comic fan, then you probably know about Daredevil. He's one of the most popular superheroes out there, and for good reason. He's got some awesome powers. However, if you're new to the Daredevil comics or want to read some more great stories, then we've got you covered in this video. We'll list 8 Daredevil comics that you should read if you haven't already, so what are you waiting for? Start watching. But did you know about the Daredevil graphic novels? Daredevil is one of my favorite graphic novels. I love the artwork and the story is really engaging. So Daredevil, the man without fear, the characters are really well developed and the plot is really exciting. I would highly recommend this graphic novel to anyone who is looking for a great read. I think what I enjoy most about Daredevil is how complex the characters are. They are all struggling with their own demons and trying to do what's right. Even though it isn't always easy, Matt Murdock is an especially interesting character because he's blind, but that doesn't stop him from being a superhero. Okay, so let's talk about some of the Daredevil comics and their reviews. Number 8, Daredevil Born Again by Frank Miller. This is one of the most popular Daredevil comics and for a good reason. It's an incredibly well-written story that will keep you hooked from beginning to end. This is a great place to start if you're new to Daredevil. The storyline follows Daredevil after the Kingpin physically and mentally defeats him. It has been described as one of the most influential stories in comics and is considered by many to be one of the greatest Daredevil stories ever told. IGN gave the story a perfect 100 score, calling it one of the finest examples of superhero comic book storytelling. They said, Daredevil, Born Again, is a must-read for any fan of great comics. Comics Alliance also praised the story, saying that it remains one of the most important and influential superhero comics ever. They went on to say that it is required reading for anyone interested in the history of comic books. So if you're looking for a great Daredevil story or want to see one of the best examples of comic book storytelling, then be sure to check out Daredevil Born Again. You won't be disappointed. Number 7, Daredevil, Man Without Fear by Frank Miller. Another fantastic comic by Frank Miller, Daredevil, Man Without Fear, is a must-read for any fan of the character. It tells the origin story of Daredevil, and it's just as gripping as Born Again. It's a great story about a superhero who is blind, but has enhanced senses that help him fight crime. The artwork is fantastic, and I love the way Miller tells the story. I was really excited to read the review of this book on comicbooked.com. However, I was disappointed with what I read. The reviewer didn't seem to understand the story, and he gave it a low rating because of that. I think that's unfair to the book and its creator. If you're a fan of the superhero stories, or just want to read a well-told tale, then I recommend Daredevil, Man Without Fear. It's one of the best comic books I've ever read. What do you think about Daredevil, Man Without Fear? Have you read it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Number 6, Daredevil vs. Bullseye. This classic Daredevil story pits the two titular characters against each other in an epic battle. If you're a fan of action-packed comics, then this is definitely the one for you. Daredevil's arch-nemesis is a diabolical Bullseye, a man who can turn anything into a deadly weapon. The two have been locked in battle for years, and their rivalry has only intensified with each encounter. In Daredevil vs. Bullseye, Denny O'Neil brings the two combatants together for an epic showdown that will leave one of them dead. O'Neil is one of the most accomplished writers in the comic book industry, and he does not disappoint with his story. The action is non-stop, and the dialogue crackles with tension. This is a must-read for any fan of Daredevil or Bullseye. Highly recommended. Number 5, Daredevil Yellow by Jeph Loeb. This comic tells an alternative origin story for Daredevil, one that's just as fascinating as the original. This is a great place to start if you want to learn more about the character. The book Daredevil Yellow is a great example of a comic that uses color to set the tone and mood of the story. The yellow pages represent Matt Murdock memories of his late father, which are full of happy times and positive emotions. However, as the story progresses, these memories turn to darker shades of yellow and orange, signifying the pain and loss that Daredevil feels after his father's death. Loeb does an excellent job of using color to convey emotion to this book, and it's definitely worth a read if you're a fan of Daredevil or comics in general. Number 4, Daredevil Guardian Devil by Kevin Smith. This is another well-written and captivating story from Kevin Smith. If you're looking for a great Daredevil comic to read, then this is definitely it. The story follows Matt Murdock, a lawyer with superpowers who fights crime in New York City's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood as the superhero Daredevil. Many people loved the series for its complex and mature storylines, but others felt that it was too dark and violent. Regardless of your opinion on the series, there is no denying that it was a major turning point for Marvel Comics. The review of Daredevil Guardian Devil by Kevin Smith is mostly positive, praising the author for his willingness to take risks with the character. Number 3. Daredevil The Man Without Fear by Mark Waid. This is a more recent comic, but it's already becoming a classic. It tells the story of Daredevil in a new and exciting way, and it's definitely worth the read. The book is about Daredevil's origin story and how he came to be the Man Without Fear. It's a well-written and interesting origin story, and I would recommend it to any fan of the character. The review is positive overall, but does point out some flaws in the book. Specifically, the reviewer felt that the book was too short, and that some of the action scenes were not as well rendered as they could have been. Despite these criticisms, the reviewer still enjoyed the book and thought it was a good read. If you're a fan of Daredevil or just want to learn more about his origins, then I would recommend checking out this book. Number 2. Daredevil, End of Days by Brian Michael Bendis. This incredibly dark and gritty comic explores what could happen if Daredevil was killed. If you're looking for something different, this is definitely the comic. Daredevil End of Days is an 8-issue miniseries published by Marvel Comics, written by Brian Michael Bendis, with art by Alex Maleev. The series deals with the final days of the superhero Daredevil, also known as Matt Murdock. The series has been generally well received by critics. IGN gave the series a great rating of 9 out of 10, praising the writing and art. They particularly praised the way Bendis incorporated elements from previous Daredevil stories into the overall narrative. However, they did note that some readers might find the pacing to be slow. Number 1. Daredevil Hell to Pay by Ed Brubaker. This is another great story from Ed Brubaker, and it's definitely worth a read. It's dark, twisted, and will keep you hooked from beginning till end. The next step is to revise what you've written. This means looking at your sentences and making sure that they are clear and concise. You may also want to add or delete information based on the feedback you received from your first draft. Finally, proofread your work for any spelling or grammar errors before you submit it. Daredevil Hell to Pay is a great example of a well-written comic book. The story is engaging and the characters are believable. I would recommend this book to anyone who enjoys superhero stories. If you're looking for a great superhero story, then I highly recommend Daredevil Hell to Pay by Ed Brubaker. It's an excellent example of how a well-written comic book can be both entertaining and engaging. The characters are believable and the story is exciting. You won't be disappointed if you give this book a chance. And if you want to read the Daredevil comics free, then there are a few ways. One way to find websites that offer free comic books. This can be done by searching free comic books in your favorite search engine. You know the one I'm talking about. Another free way to get Daredevil comics is to check out library websites. Many libraries offer digital copies of popular comic books that you can read for free. Finally, you can also sign up for a trial membership with a website like Comixology or Marvel Unlimited. What are your favorite Daredevil comics? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to contact me at any time, and don't forget to like and share our video.